I like Herzen's past events and thoughts. With repeated reading, I began to believe in his interpretation. The ultimate goal of life is life itself. In recent years, I feel a little bit about the reading and thinking of my favorite thinkers. A lamp gradually brightens on the path of my life. There is a level of enlightenment in Buddhism, which is called, from darkness to light. Sometimes I can clearly feel that there will be waves of joy in my heart. At 17, I was convinced that I could liberate all mankind. When I was 27 years old, I didn't believe it a little bit, but I still believed that liberating all mankind was at least a rhetoric, a grand ideal, and a beautiful idealism. At the age of 35, my heart was empty and I couldn't find anything. At the age of 45, I gradually settled down, focused on self-criticism, and mildly denied liberating all mankind. Knowing clearly that it is just a slogan. A Chinese slogan. Chinese big talk. In the era of big talk in China, I was young and passionate about literature. I wrote poems in big talk and started passionate literary creation. Soon, the social reality dried up my passion for poetry. Cynical, I turned to fiction. In recent years, the spring of poetry has naturally revived, and I get poems again and again from time to time. Looking at myself, I'm still quite shy, and I feel a little bit like an old man talking about being a teenager. Although I am shy, I still have to admit that, compared with my 17-year-old poems, the current poems are poems. In today's era, it is basically a big talk environment. A sales advertisement said, "Century Mansion, a symbol of noble status, fulfilling your noble dream for thousands of years." A drug advertisement said, "Exquisite craftsmanship, excellent curative effect, epic making high-tech, let men sex until the age of 80. Examining yourself with the social and historical results of the big concept, the feeling is, I am as small as dust, unable to benefit the family and country, but the individual is making progress. For this, I am also happy. People's progress is not directly proportional to age, but it is often the opposite. It is too easy to be lazy in middle age, degenerate in middle age, give up in middle age, and slick in middle age. When a person reaches middle age, if he is still not sensible, it should be regarded as a regression. There is a folk saying old, young, that is, people will become like children when they get old, which means that we must learn to be considerate and accommodate the elderly, because they will become smaller and smaller. I don't know if I'm old at my current age, but I've noticed that I'm getting smaller, so small that I'm happy to strive for insignificant progress. Just like my child, he drew his own height on the white wall behind the door, and after a while, he went to draw a picture secretly, and compared it during the Chinese New Year. Even if he grew a little taller, he would laugh. After middle age, I am so eager to be sensible. To value and explore life is to know the spring but not to know the spring, to be sensible but not to be sensible. My purpose is really not to become a real artist or thinker. Although I personally, at any time, will uncompromisingly insist on my point of view, that is, a real writer must first become a sensible person. However, at the same time, I have also understood that in China's cultural and social conditions, truth and pseudo-truth cannot be accurately measured, and not even all of them can be proved by history. In India, Gandhi became the Mahatma Gandhi of the entire country and people, and his influence shocked the world. And Su Xing, a representative of Chinese peasant thought, led his students as early as the Warring States period, wearing coarse clothes, playing straw sandals, weaving straw mats, living a simple life, advocating that the sages and the people should farm and eat together, and called on everyone to participate. Labor, how its behavior resembles Gandhi's asceticism, who remembers him? Even if you study history and literature at university, and read 100 schools of thought, you probably only remember Confucianism, Taoism, Moism, and Yin-Yang school. Even the famous scholar Liang Qicao's understanding of Su Xing is nothing more than the word cynical. In essence, how could Su Xing be summarized in such a large and general way? Revolution is cynical, and asceticism is self-denial, tolerance, and generosity to cultivate one's morality and awaken the world. China's history is too long, and China's history is too orthodox. Omissions and forgetting, misreading, and misunderstanding have become academically normal. Who does history remember? What can history prove? Now that I understand it, since I am doing what I am destined to do, why do I need to go to society or history to ask whether it is true or not? A real person doesn't show his face, and a real person doesn't show his face. This is also an old Chinese folk saying, and it is also a folk practical philosophy about real life, with true wisdom and open-mindedness. China's philosophical wisdom is always more reflected in the folks. There are no philosophers, only old Chinese medicine practitioners in traditional Chinese medicine shops, natural and lively young monks, old grandmothers who sew late at night, experienced woodcutters, and occasionally brides who are waiting to be married. The good news is that the contemporary concept regards the earth as a village. We can also find many contemporary literary works and philosophies, and there are still many wise men who insist on paying attention to people and reality. It is the desire to transform the virtues of pure reason into goodness, not vice, in practical reason. In this way, regardless of whether the mountains are high or the water is low, the moon sets wildly, and the tide ebbs and flows, I will no longer have the fallacies of the ancient Tao Yuan Ming, but hate too much. For about 10 years, I did not hold seminars on my own works, invited famous people at home and abroad to write prefaces or book reviews for me, and was no longer invited to do my own special topics on TV. The initial mentality of these practices may have all kinds of anger. Later, especially in the past 5 years, it was no longer a show of anger and indignation. Because I gradually understand myself. I'm just not good at getting along with people. I am not born with the pride of helping the world. What Cao Ran likes is to be alone. I am a remote village without even wooden fences and wild roses. The only thing I have is tranquility, which is the kind of tranquility that does not compete with the world. This year, I spent almost half a year revising my anthology. In the rereading of one novel after another, I found so many mistakes, which is really ashamed and disturbing. In addition to the proofreading errors in the printing process, my own pen errors are as numerous as a cow's hair, the jerky words I use are as many as a cow's hair, and the mistakes of common sense in life are also numerous, and the confusion in the depths of my thoughts leads to the ambiguity in the form of this article. When I think that Chi Li's collected works, 7 volumes, which is full of mistakes, has been read by at least 600,000 readers, I will break out in a cold sweat on my forehead, and I really feel like I have seen Jiangdong's elders. In this way, in my private heart, I feel that the evaluation itself can pay attention to and give me whether it is praise or criticism, it is regarded as flattering me. It is also my true blessing that thousands of readers like my books. Even if it's just to live up to my own blessing, I should write every word carefully and calmly, regard each word as a new life, and have a sense of responsibility as a creator and a mother's stubborn doting in my heart. No matter how lively the outside is, no matter how tempting the voices calling for friends and friends are, my children are not fed, clothed, and tidied up, so we just don't go out. The person who values and explores life knows the spring but does not know the spring, is sensible but not sensible, so I am talking about myself. I am always waiting, always thinking that the spring of my life will come. Chun turned out to be so generous, clear, smooth, warm, and healthy. No matter how many things happened in the world, it was as if nothing had happened, and he was still doing what he had to do. The longer I look at the world, the more I am familiar with peace and peace in my heart. Even if the destruction of the earth is right in front of my eyes, I still remain calm. What does it mean to live decently? I thought it was called living decently. What is a noble death? I thought this was called a noble death. Half my life has passed, and I found that my life is full of indignity and no nobility. Not to mention anything else, just this kind of undignified anxiety, haste, embarrassment, and resentment have already left his body covered in cuts and bruises. Around 2000, I was surprised to find that something was wrong with my body. Later, I was even more surprised to find that it was not others who hurt my body, but myself. Our physical body is not only destroyed by bacteria and viruses, but the biggest source of disease is still an unhealthy spirit. Looking back at half my life that has passed, I had the simplest thought, I have to love myself. I long to know how to love myself.